Water Management Committee meeting for April. It's the 12th of April at 2 p.m. I need to remind you that this meeting is being video recorded and broadcast over Channel 18 and through the town website. So I propose that we go to Jane first. Jane has said she needs to be on her way. So Jane, can you bring us up to date on various topics?
Sure, thank you. We are still one person down in my department, so we're kind of strapped for help and time. So we have been very busy over the last few weeks trying to complete some tasks. I'll start with the wastewater side. As you know, we had received a water infrastructure technical assistance grant from DEP, and it had specific deliverables. We have completed all of the tasks assigned to that grant and have submitted for final reimbursement. I will hand out the newsletter. This was a summary of that was part of the deliverable for the grant. We completed, as you will recall, the update to the wastewater planning effort that was initiated in 2009 and the alternative screening analysis. Both of those documents are available on our website under the Health Department, wastewater. We also, as part of the deliverables for this grant, had to hold a public meeting. We met with internally for some review purposes, and then we met on the formal side with the Board of Selectmen in February for the final delivery. We actually had broken down the communication with the Selectmen into two components. One was a water quality update that was presented by Liz Moran from Ecologic. Again, that technical report is on our website. And then we followed with the wastewater component that was presented by, we divided that into sort of three areas. I did sort of a regional, local update. The Cape Cod Commission Deputy Director Patty Daly did a presentation and an overview of the 208 regional planning process. And Jessica Janney from GHD did an update on the wastewater component. So at this point in time, we are proceeding with the two hybrid analyses for Nauset Estuary, which include a detailed look at both Salt Pond and Town Cove. So that work is ongoing. We will be providing some of the data for the analysis, and GHD will be completing that work in conjunction with an amendment we actually signed with them to also prepare all of the watershed reports that are deliverables under the agreement between the CLF and EPA, and that work will be completed by June 30th. So that is all ongoing. So again, this summary newsletter is part of the deliverable, just basically giving, written in plain language, hopefully, so that the community can understand where we are in the process. I plan to have these available at town meeting, and we'll have them obviously all at public buildings and so forth. We'll post it on our website and, make it available as we do with all things we try to distribute widely. So, new work on the horizon. We submitted a grant to the Cape Cod Commission. It's called a Direct Local Technical Assistance Grant. And although we have not received formal approval, we have received verbal approval and an opinion in that regard from Deputy Director Patty Daly. And what that grant will be focusing on are basically two components. One will be looking at Salt Pond Visitor Center as a site-specific approach using permeable reactive barriers, looking at that non-traditional option. And the second component of this grant is to have a collaborative discussion and approach in the shared watershed, which obviously includes the town of Orleans. And part of this work will be facilitating the collaboration between the two towns to determine the nutrient load, allocation, and joint evaluation of existing and expanded water quality data. So we hope to hear formally on the approval of this funding very soon.
That's from the Cape Cod Commission?
Yes, and it could be coming from one of two sources, I was told. We applied under the Direct Local Technical Assistance Program, but it also might be funded by reserves that they have from the 208 funding. In conjunction with that, we've been working with the Cape Cod Commission on stormwater improvement for a salt pond drainage system. And although the project had been listed for Mass State Highway as a project that is moving forward, one of the components that we wanted to address would not be funded through the traditional Mass State Highway project funding source. So we have been working with the Cape Cod Commission to look at when the effluent is discharged, to discharge it such that bioremediation takes place. So it's an additional layer of engineering that would be required for the plan. So this project is also being seriously considered for 208 funding. And we have been working with consultants provided by the Cape Cod Commission, Horsley and Witten, and a team of their transportation engineers and so forth that have been more intimately involved with that project, working with staff from the Cape Cod National Seashore. So again, you know, it looks very promising. We hope to see some formal approvals in the near future. This was all sort of simultaneously submitted.
This is stormwater remediation, you said, right?
Yes,
Salt pond. Say
right.
again what it is, to do what? in the
It's
effluent?
to include bioremediation for the discharge.
Is that passive or active?
It's passive because you're just using the natural vegetation. You're not putting in an active component.
Okay.
Yeah, so the improvement just in the drainage system is a structural improvement. This would be adding another aspect, which is passive and works to remove nitrogen, where the other approach does not.
What, did you give a general idea of what it is, what they do?
You're gonna be, well, I haven't actually seen the design plan, but they would put in some type of infiltrators, I would imagine, with, I expect that it would have some sort of, the soil profiles would be such that you would have more retention in the soil, but as opposed to just a direct discharge, you're giving more surface exposure, so you have, just like in a
Oh, it's
convention.
dispersed over a wider
Yes,
area?
but I don't know the specific answer to your question. It might actually have some type of carbon, or I'm not quite sure. Nitrogen reduction is usually accomplished through an anoxic, situation where there's conversion from nitrate into nitrogen gas, and it requires an anaerobic condition or an anoxic condition. I'm not quite sure how they do that in the civil engineering world of stormwater remediation, but that's the approach they're looking at. So I'm not actually, I'll come back to you.
I just wanted some general idea
Yeah,
of
I'll
what we
come
were
back
talking
to
about.
you when I see conceptual
Yeah.
plans.
Okay.
This is really Neil's area of
Okay.
expertise, so he's really the person that should come back and probably elaborate. Also, we have been trying to work on anticipated expanded water monitoring program to take place this summer and the following 2 summers in conjunction with Orleans. We actually have secured conceptual approval from the Board of Selectmen, and I have funding to support the project. What we still are awaiting is a formal decision from Orleans that they are intending to proceed. They were still under discussions the last meeting I went to, which was 4 hours long, and it didn't end. It was continued. So I'm not sure if the citizens or the selectmen, where the funding's gonna come from, if it's actually been approved. What this would involve is revisiting the MEP report that was written in 2001 to 2003 or 4. That's when the data was collected, and basically verifying the model, providing updated land use data, water demand information, and collecting additional samples so that the model could be recalibrated and adjusted if needed. So I am highly in favor of Eastham getting involved in this at this time. I think it supports everything we're trying to do. It would give us confidence in what is currently occurring in terms of water quality in Nauset Estuary. I have confidence from just what Liz did, looking at the trend analysis for the last 10+ years at Salt Pond, that we're not seeing improvement. I can say that with all certainty in the water quality. So it's just, I think, an opportunity for our citizens to have a partnership in this work effort, and it will give us time to consider our options and in what road we take in terms of mapping out our future plans. So we have, Sandy Bain has been a lead person in organizing pond volunteers in the past, and she has supplied me with a group of people that she thinks would be willing to participate. We're still working on the specifics. I'm working with Carolyn Kennedy, and George Meservey from Orleans and others that are organizing the effort at their end. This will be modeled after the Pleasant Bay monitoring program. They have a very firm, stern foundation in the sample procedure and training volunteers and so forth. I have submitted a request to UMass Dartmouth, SMAST, Ed Eichner's group, Brian House's group, to respond to my request by giving us a proposal on equipment costs and analytical costs and training costs, similar to what was requested by the town of Orleans. So I haven't received that back yet, but obviously summer is quickly approaching, and we're going to need to get all of these things in place and in short order. So that is what we're working on. I plan to, if I am able, to attend the Pleasant Bay Monitoring Program meeting a week from this Friday. Carol Ridley is the coordinator for the Pleasant Bay Alliance, and she has invited me to attend and hear, what their program is shaped like, because we really are going to be coordinating with Orleans, but also the Pleasant Bay Alliance in terms of our training and so forth. So that is what's going on. I really invite people who have any interest in being part of the volunteer network for monitoring. It is a time commitment, but it's only 5 sampling events throughout the summer, 2 in July, 2 in August, and 1 in September. They will be determined based on the tide cycle and timing coordinated with the other communities. So once the dates are established, that's when you'd have to be available. So obviously, it would be best if our town had backup people. So when someone had a conflict, we could perhaps, change out or regroup with our trained volunteers. You really don't need to know anything to participate. We're going to go through an extensive training program. I mean, it's not going to take a long time, but it will be very detailed so that people are confident about how to collect the samples, what documentation we have to write down, how the labs then get processed. The lab samples get delivered so that we go collectively to the laboratory. Each person doesn't have to go. We meet centrally in Orleans, and the samples and the chain of custody is established. So if you wanted a project for the summer, or college students coming back with an interest in environmental science or just our environment, I really encourage people to get in touch with me and be part of it, because I think it's a learning process for all of us, and it shows a real commitment to our community. So it's going to be a lot of work. I hope we can pull it off. And I think that is about it.
Jane?
Yes.
Well, it's now 3 questions. I assume you need a boat to do this.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have discussed with Orleans which sites are our responsibilities and which they will be taking responsibility for. Last summer, we went out and did a site visit. Conditions have changed geographically since 2003, as any fisherman will probably tell you. So some of the depths and actual accessibility to some of the sites has changed. So those are firmly established. Since this is really in conjunction with verifying the model for UMass with SMAST, the School of Marine and Applied Sciences, we will absolutely confirm with them that we're on target in terms of the sites that we are going to be sampling, and we're going to have to determine how one needs to get to the various sample locations. For sure, Salt Pond's easy. I mean, that's been an established site, but some of the others are trickier and will require us perhaps securing permission from private property owners for access. So if you want to be involved in a real logistic undertaking, anyone out there that would be willing to take on some of this thinking and work would be very helpful, because we really...
I'd be better at thinking than
Yeah.
rowing the boat.
Because my first step is I have to make sure the town of Orleans is in. If they're not in, it's not going to do us any good to do half of this work. So if they're in, then we're in. If we're in, then we have to go ahead with the logistics. And that's going to be, again, a bunch of work, but I think we can do it.
Okay, well, I'll be willing to help
Okay,
you if there's anything I
excellent,
can do.
excellent.
Short of rowing a boat.
Yeah,
That I could do.
So I do have a list of names. I haven't actually contacted to make sure that these people are still willing and able. I'm thinking kayaks, small motorboats. I'm not quite sure. I've been mostly on the land, not on the sea, so.
Well,
It's
rowboats would work if people, you know,
Right, so,
had to
we'll see.
be able to deal with them.
And just-
When would the training be? You said that,
Yeah, we are actually, with the meeting with Pleasant Bay Alliance, we'll set up the training. I have a proposal, as does Orleans, in with SMAST, and we asked as part of their deliverables to provide training. Now, in the past, Pleasant Bay Alliance, Bob Duncanson is the director for the Chatham Environmental and Health Department. He's done the training, as have some of his staff. They've been involved in sampling in Pleasant Bay for 15-plus years. So they've taken it on themselves. I certainly couldn't train someone in this regard. I don't know the use of the equipment and so forth. So I need someone that can, lead us through this, and I don't feel it's, fair for us to all be sitting at Bob Duncanson's store. So that's what the idea was, to have training that could facilitate each town. So maybe three afternoons or evenings of trainings, one in each location, Eastham, Orleans, and Chatham. So that's what we're planning. I don't have the dates yet.
do you know approximately what month it would be?
Well, the dates of sampling, if
Or
all
July,
goes,
August,
if,
September.
if all goes, there are a few dates in July and a few dates in August and a couple in September. We have identified with the outgoing tide and, conditions, and time of day, et cetera. So those are all, we have to go with
Go with the flow.
the God's plan, and we have to go with when the conditions are favorable for us. So I don't have those dates yet, but that would be part of the SMS contract. And I will let you know, we're looking at, maybe June, sometime in June, I would say. And we were checking to make sure it was going to work with each town. We'd probably have one training for newcomers and then 2 for veteran samplers that have been involved and just want a refresher to get their equipment for the year, et cetera. So I would assume the newcomer session would be here in Eastham, since we're kind of the last people to be, there are many trained pond samplers in Eastham. There are many trained, but if we get additional support, as I hope we do, this would be our opportunity to do the training.
And I have a question, something completely different. Minister Pond and Aquatic Technologies.
Yes, I will put that on my,
Okay, because we were going to try and
Yep.
get them, I think, before this stuff all grew up.
yep. I will send him an email when I go back upstairs. That's a good point. Yeah, I know they're down in Brewster doing, what is the name of that pond? That has had the cyanobacter, the blue-green algae historically,
Yeah.
not Slough Pond.
Begins with the letter C, that's all I can remember, right.
Anyway, there's a pond within Nickerson State Park that has had some problems. Pretty pristine location too, and it's had some problems, so they're gonna do a treatment there.
Clay.
There's 2 cliffs.
There's cliffs,
Small
yeah,
and
small
big.
cliffs, yeah, cliffs and stuff
It-
like that.
And there's a
Wax.
Higgins. a
And there's
Higgins-
Higgins and you.
And
There's
there's
that
one,
particular-
there's one as you come in.
This roof.
It's,
Yeah.
it's the Department of Conservation and Recreation Land that actually owns it. Anyway, they're gonna be close by, and he had offered to come do just sort of a survey, and so I definitely wanna remind him.
I also saw something, in Salt Pond, I don't know if you know, there's something, there's sort of like a platform there, and there were some guys on the platform yesterday. I wonder if they don't have anything to do with this sampling, they must have been doing
No.
something else. Okay.
I don't know. There's a lot of scientific research that goes on there. Obviously, it's closed for red tide again. So there are scientists from Woods Hole that do research there. There are staff from the Cape Cod National Seashore that do work there. And in that regard, I've been trying to form a collaboration between the seashore and us. I've actually reached out to them to ask them if perhaps they could assign a sampling team to participate in the expanded MEP monitoring program. That would be ideal, because then you'd have, committed, interested individuals. I haven't gotten a response back.
They've been very short of people.
Yeah, they are, and obviously, so I know that their heart supports us. I don't know if they can
The bodies.
provide staff. Sometimes they get volunteers too, though, so that's another.
Is it Crystal Lee that does it?
It's, right now, I've
it's
been
called
in
Sophia Fox.
Sophia Fox, and
Yes.
I think she's out on leave or away right
Oh,
now.
she's gonna have a baby.
Yeah, and Lauren McKean, I've been most,
I don't know him, I
yeah.
know.
So, I have one unrelated thing, if, for any of you that are out and about all the time. The Board of Health is having a joint workshop / educational forum, and it's actually being co-hosted by
Yes.
Health Agents Coalition for this discussion about deer ticks. And so we have an entomologist from the Cape Cod Extension Service coming. And he is very colorful and
He's hot stuff.
He's good, he's good.
he is. He's very good, and I think every time I hear him speak, I learn something new. He actually, I'll take the extras if there are any. Thank you.
I sent this on to Audubon,
Good.
to the volunteer coordinator, and said if she thought it appropriate, she could send it out to all the volunteers.
Oh, great.
But he's spoken to us on the volunteer naturalist training
Mhm.
before, it must have been a couple of years ago.
Mhm. There's always new information.
Oh, yes, because you've got the
and-
new stuff, I
Yep.
don't remember the names.
It's always interesting. It is a real problem in Eastham.
Mhm.
And he told me that this week, he received a tick that was positive for 4 different bacterium. So we definitely have an issue here, so I'm hoping, I did try to reach out, and anybody you can think of that might be interested, if they live here, they live elsewhere, wherever, I'm sure he will be interesting, and we are looking forward to that, so.
Yeah, there's a program, in fact, the guy who does my termites and stuff, they offer it, and I'm not certain about it environmentally. It's basically to spray around the bushes around your house for ticks. You know anything about that?
Well, Larry's gonna be talking about a 3-point protection plan.
Okay,
Protect
all
yourself,
right.
your yard,
Yeah.
and your pet. So you can get the
I
latest.
don't want to use something that's, you
What's
know,
in the
no good.
National Wildlife Federation, the magazine that I get every month, they just had told you about what to do about your yard and ticks. So I think if you go on their website, you'd be able to find it, because they basically are saying, do
Okay.
this and this. You know, make sure, leave all the wild stuff, don't go
Mhm.
into it, garden with light-colored things.
Yeah.
Right, there are some practical tips. I know that he's gonna be bringing, educational information. And for anyone that misses it, that's interested, Mike is gonna film it for us. So it will be available video on demand, how you can watch that at any time from, any place with an internet connection. So that, I think it's
Great.
timely, and I'm sure that you read the Cape Cod, it was in the front page, I guess, of yesterday's Cape Cod Times about deer ticks and so
Yeah.
forth, so. It's gonna be a bad season, is what they were saying. So,
Cheer me up.
I know it, but, again, being proactive and protecting yourself, wearing light clothing, those types of things, keeping vegetation away from where you play or entertain in your yard, those types of things we can do.
I worry more about my dog, I must admit,
Yeah.
than about myself.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Well, no,
I don't-
somebody was saying that the dogs are already getting covered,
Yeah. Oh,
They already get what?
getting ticks.
Oh, yeah, we
No, she's a long-haired dog, too, so you gotta.
yeah, we had a
Mhm.
Samoyed for 20 years, we had Samoyeds, and we, down here, we're always pulling ticks
Mhm.
off.
Yeah, and I mean, the dog ticks you
was-
can see, the deer ticks you really
They're
can't.
tiny.
Well, the dogs don't get deer ticks?
Dogs, well, they can get deer ticks,
Yeah.
and they are
Deer
usually,
ticks are real small, right?
yeah, they're the nymph,
Till
The
they,
nymphs are little
Yeah.
pinpricks,
yeah,
right?
the nymphs are really tiny.
well,
But dogs are now routinely tested for Lyme disease. Of course, you still do not want exposure, and you don't want a carrier coming through your house, so it's, that type of thing. Any questions?
So, I don't have any questions. Jane, I could add a little bit on the, what Orleans is doing with respect to Town Cove and Rock Harbor. And I did go to 2 of their meetings after the meeting that you were attending. And, and I could add that Orleans, with their shellfish warden, is going forward to count quahogs down in the south end of Town Cove. Basically, the warden says that at the yacht club, he has a sanctuary. And that's his term for what he uses there. I guess it means it's a place where you don't go to take quahogs. But they're going to sample in at least 5 places in Town Cove to establish the baseline population, because one of the non-traditional technologies would be to seed in more quahogs to get them to help clean up the water. So, and they're interested in doing the quahog thing, but of course they have to establish the background first so they know whether it's a good thing is happening or not. I can also say that it doesn't specifically relate to us, but they're going to do somewhat of that same determination with oysters in a place that they call Lonnie's Pond. And it's what they call a terminal pond. In other words, it gets salt water from Pleasant Bay, but on the other side of the pond, it's getting fresh water from the land. It's called a terminal pond, and there are a number of them, and they are a concern because that's where the pollution of Pleasant Bay really causes the problem, because that's where you have the people trying to enjoy that particular water, and you have the excess of nutrients. So that's going to be going on. It is, and I was surprised that all of the steady participants in the meeting, folks that I have come to know and who have good credentials, are now all in consensus that move forward. In other words, they want Orleans to spend some money this summer finding out the initial pieces of information. They need to know how effective quahogs are and how effective oysters are to then figure out how to and how much it's going to cost to do these things in the next season. And basically if they make sense, but right now we have these technologies presented as a way of going, but it's kind of cutting edge work to find out how it happens. As a matter of fact, one of the comments that they made at the meetings was, you know, it's not the job of the town to do scientific research. It's just for us to find out how effective these creatures can be, and then consider how many could be gotten in the marketplace and how much labor it would take to set them out and that type of thing. So I was impressed by the level of detail that they're getting into. And you know, it's going to produce good information, I think. Let me see if I've got. I do intend to continue going to those meetings and listening to how things go. What I did hear is that they do plan to go along with organizing 7 new sampling parties for the sites that are Orleans' responsibility in Town Cove. And in the discussions, I've heard them say that really they need, you need 3 years of data to satisfy the statistical requirements for accuracy of data. So, you know, I know that what you've said about it's important for Eastham to organize sampling parties to go out here on Town Cove this summer, but basically...
No, it's for 3 years. We'll be working in conjunction with them. We're partnering with them to complete our responsibility in terms of Nauset Estuary. So we're talking about the same thing.
Right.
They're doing their sites, and we'd be doing our sites.
Right.
At the same time.
At the same time,
In the
yes.
same program.
Yes, that's exactly it.
But they hadn't secured funding for it, so that's why it's still undecided whether they're going to proceed. They didn't have funding for the project. I have funding for Eastham.
Okay, yeah, I don't know that detail.
Yeah.
I mean, but
So we can't go on to do the analysis if they don't have, if they're not going to partner with us, it isn't going to be a complete evaluation. So we wouldn't be doing the entire Nauset Estuary. So we need to work together to do it simultaneously, or we're not doing it at all.
You wouldn't
And
even
at the
do Salt
time-
Pond?
What's that?
Couldn't
well-
we do Salt Pond by ourselves if we had to?
I suppose we could, you know.
That's, it's gonna be a separate
But it's
unit,
really,
so-
well, I suppose we could. Nauset Salt Pond has actually been paid for, the analysis has been paid for by the town of Orleans for all these years. We had staff volunteers, we had a town employee and Charles and, who's the gentleman?
John Grant,
Okay.
another volunteer
Yeah,
from
another
Eastham.
volunteer from Eastham, have been out doing the sampling on the Orleans schedule. It was just a minimal set of data, though. We were sampling 3 sites. And Orleans was generous enough to provide me with the technical data, which I then had our water quality expert do an analysis on it, trend analysis. They had not done that for those other 2 sites that they had been sampling all these years. So they had all the data, they didn't have the analysis done. I think that they are now trying to get the analysis complete. We have been in discussion with them about this expanded MEP sampling program, which is 3 consecutive years, these 5 particular determined dates, so that we can give that data back to SMAS, and then they can recalibrate the MEP model with confidence. But it's not just the data that you have to give them. You have to give them, if you want an accurate model result, you have to give them updated land use data. So from 2001 to 2016, things have changed. We still, to this day, don't have water use data because we don't have metered water supplies. However, in the foreseeable future, we'll at least have a small collective number of wells that have been replaced by municipal water, which is going to be metered. Again,
Can you transfer the data from one part of town to another? Is that, it's
well,
just considered an
it's-
average thing?
you know, isn't that better? I would say.
No, I mean, but they'll accept that, is I guess what I,
That would
my
be
question.
part of this
Yeah.
grant,
Yeah, okay.
of collaborating and agreeing upon water use data, because right now, the number that they assign to us is extremely high, and so it overestimates the amount of how much we've contributed to the problem, by an overestimate. So it's just conceptual, so we can work within a range at this point. But it's going to be important, and I would think our citizens and taxpayers would want some level of confidence down the road. So I agree with you, Adele. Could you take a subset of Eastham properties and extrapolate it out? And I say, yeah, well, why not? That's more representative of Eastham than Cape-wide averages, which include Barnstable and Falmouth. So that's exactly the point, and that's what we have to gain by supporting and participating in the program. We have a lot to gain.
Yes, that's what we do. Let me see, perhaps you mentioned another thing that's also sort of a bullet on the agenda, and if you need to be on your way, feel comfortable. Down there, Eastham Area Watershed Management Agencies. I think you said all that is now known. In other words, in June, a report will go forward to Cape Cod Commission, but it will have to be coordinated in some way with Orleans for their part of the particular watershed that's being reported upon.
Not necessarily. Each WMA can submit its own plan. In a perfect world, we would have a municipal agreement and be hand in hand on the approach, but we're not at the same place as Orleans, and I don't actually think that we could deliver that input in this short framework of time. So we are proceeding with our own consultant, just as they have not only a consultant, they have a consultant that manages their consultants. So we are, just developing our preliminary conceptual approach, and we will be working in each watershed to do what's required from the matrix that the Cape Cod Commission sort of suggested as a template for what information would be needed to comply with the intent of the lawsuit.
Jane, you were talking before, you referred to GHD doing the hybrid.
Yep.
Now, when the woman from the Cape Cod Commission made the presentation, she mentioned that we have to submit 3 scenarios, traditional, non-traditional, and hybrid.
We're going to
Are
do
they
that.
also doing that, the traditional and non-traditional, or?
We're going to be doing, yeah, basically, it's taking all of the approaches you can think of
Yeah.
and trying to get to the number, the calorie reduction number. I love the way Liz, it sticks with me, that, you know, she said Salt Pond has to go on a diet. So we have to figure out exactly that. How do we remove a certain number of kilograms of nitrogen from entering from the watershed into the estuary? So we have to use any approach and all approaches that have any type of likelihood for success. Throw them out there using some of the tools that Cape Cod Commission have developed and see what sounds like a reasonable course of action. And
Yeah, I didn't know if there's anything in this or not, but it's occurred to me now that they've included the Ministers Pond watershed in the Salt Pond watershed. So there has to be some remedial action for ministers related to nitrogen. Is there any possibility that somehow could also relate to phosphorus?
well, clearly phosphorus is the nutrient of concern in
Yeah.
freshwater systems, because once you get phosphorus in, the algae, you know, that's the most needed nutrient, and that's what causes problems. But I think it does all fit together with some of these things we're trying to just tackle, you know, one by one. The stormwater system in Salt Pond clearly adds to the problem. The stormwater drainage in Schoolhouse Ministers Pond adds to the problem.
Yeah, well, it
It-
seems to me now that it's related to the estuary, that sort of ups the ante on a correction.
It does, and I think it increases our presentation and our project in terms of need when talking to Mass State Highway. They have asked for documentation on impacts. I supplied them with Liz's report on doing the trend analysis. So all of this is working together. Another thing we're looking at in terms of Salt Pond is trying to convince the Cape Cod National Seashore to revisit the infrastructure they have there, their wastewater treatment plant, and have the county look at that site for support regarding to sampling, regarding to improvements, and it's all part of little pieces that can lead to improvement. And adaptive management is the one thing that you have that gives some legitimacy to these approaches, because none of them are 100% effective. Sewering is 100% effective. It takes the sewer wastewater away, treats it, and no longer adds to your problem. However, we don't have a wastewater treatment plant or a centralized plant in the foreseeable future, and particularly in the Salt Pond section. So we have to brainstorm, and I think adaptive management will allow us to implement some of these strategies rather than plan for the next 20 years, but actually try to get some concrete movement steps heading in the right direction, and then we can reevaluate. Did that, similar to, you know, how many oysters, and it's the same mentality of, if this is a reasonable option, let's try it, see how much reduction we get. Salt Pond is a very challenging site. It is, if you look at the map, it is a terminal pond also, and it is so confined that what goes in is very hard to come out. I think it's, I'm not a hydrogeologist, but it's as simple as that to me. So it's, you know, it's just something that I know that the Seashore supports, but we just have to come to some, you know, action plan instead of a conceptual plan,
Yeah,
is what I'd like to say.
I was looking over the technical memo again, number one, trying to understand these things. Maybe at my grave, trying to understand them. But it seems to me that even if we were to sewer in the salt pond area, because the reduction quota or requirement is so high, we still need to deal with the other sources, the stormwater runoff. Like that chart that lays out the percentage, how much is from land use other than residences and stuff, that has, so that all of that, unless you get the fertilizer credits and that for that, but you gotta, it didn't seem that sewering alone would do the trick in terms of salt ponds.
I mean, that's, you know, definitely ask our civil engineers the answer. I'm just giving you the best
Okay.
answer I can, which may fall a little short of exactly
Well, and
accurate.
you know, I'm just stumbling through these papers
Yeah,
trying
you
to
know, what they
understand
tried to
them.
do is say that if all you were doing is sewering, if that's the only solution you had, this is how much you have to reduce. So that's a simple civil engineering,
Okay.
known, tried and true answer to the question. If you do other things, then the number can vary. And you're correct. You know, technically, we're supposed to get a credit because we have a fertilizer regulation,
Yeah.
you know, but I'm all about trying to solve the real problem. That's my goal, is to try to solve a problem. So I say adaptive management makes sense to me, because you never know until you try something how effective it's going to be. And it makes sense to me that it's much more economical, if we really want to solve the problem, to put our money into that type of pilot approach, and rather than pay consultants till the end of time.
So, well, all right. I've got my agenda here, and if we don't have any further questions to Jane, looks like Jane is needing to be someplace else.
I have a miscellaneous, which is,
Okay?
because I've been reading this stuff over. I found the answer to your question, which you said, well, what good does it do if we're only reducing what's going in? And I said, I thought I remembered that there's a percentage reduction also in the benthic flux, the sediment what's already there.
Oh, yeah.
You did ask that
Yeah,
question,
that was,
okay.
yeah.
I did in fact read it. It's in, oops, sorry, folks. It's in Liz Moran's, her technical memo that she presented to the selectmen on January 20th. It's dated November 5th, revised January 6th, and it's on page 5. And it says, further, they assumed this is how they came up with their estimates of loads. The rate of net benthic flux would be reduced in approximate proportion to the reduction in external loading. Thus, a 10% reduction in end load from land use and septic leachate will reduce the rate of nitrogen loss from the sediments to the water column by 10%. So that's how they figure it's not just, you're not just keeping out what's
Yeah.
keeping out, but by keeping that out, you're also reducing what's already there. I'm no engineer, I'm going to tell you what I read.
Adela, that speaks volumes. No, I think you're very perceptive there in realizing that there is a little calculus that the professionals do,
It's a course I never got
ties the
near.
numbers together.
I wonder why.
Actually, I probably could have done it, but it was, the thought of it was frightening.
So,
I'm sure you could have done it.
all right, well,
Political science didn't require calculus
Oh, my
at that point.
I'm going to tell you what I know about the PALS sampling. I do know that Sandy Bain has stepped up, and she's going to be the team leader this year and organize all the samplers that are going out to the ponds that are being sampled under that program. I can tell you that for the ponds that I will be involved in, I'm aware that there are some ponds for which we have sufficient sampling data such that they only get sampled in the spring and in the fall. And that's just sort of a keep costs reasonable and whatnot. I can tell you our former member, Roger Dumas, is continuing to volunteer and go out and sample in that area. All right, that's enough on that. Yes,
I
ma'am.
have something, 'cause I've been mulling over these things in the last couple of weeks. We get these reports routinely for the results of the pond sampling. I don't know about anyone else, but I don't understand them. And I wonder if there's some way, is there anyone who could come and explain to us what these, they'll say this number for this and this number for that element.
Somewhere I read it, because I didn't know anything about it either. And somewhere, because I found enough that I began to understand what those things were, but I can't remember, a long time ago.
Okay. Well, I think it would be useful in terms of understanding what's
Yeah,
going on,
exactly.
if somehow or another we could understand the data that's being presented to us. So, I don't know, Charles,
Charles?
if you know anybody in the sampling group who understands what those results mean when they produce them, or?
Very good point. I do go to the Orleans Marine and Freshwater Task Force meetings, and I can tell you that they do have a person there who, a volunteer, who is gifted in that area. And I have heard that person kind of guide people down lines of spreadsheet numbers and explain to them what she understands the numbers to be. But when you're getting in that area, you're talking about a person whose time is worth quite a bit, whose, intellect and experience is worth quite a bit.
Does anyone ever produce a written summary or
That's what I
anything,
was
instead
gonna
of just these data sheets?
Well, no, yeah, that's a good point. Now, the way I've sort of gotten this is that I hear the professionals say, look, without data, we can't do anything. And that's why it's so key to find volunteers to go out and get numbers that stand up in terms of, the volunteers are able to get numbers that are consistently accurate enough to be used by professionals for, further work. But it's a second piece of work. Now, as I say, I sit in on the Orleans meetings, and I do hear that committee make initiatives to ask SMAS to make a report on, a particular set of data. Or not necessarily a year's data, but take, say, 5 years of data and something like that. And they're talking, as I understand it, about the things that we have as the PALS data, the oxygen, the nitrate, temperature, clarity, that kind of stuff, which is apparently satisfies the professionals as being enough points such that they can come up with a conclusion. In other words, they know how to sort of check one point against a different point and see if it makes sense. Perhaps, we need to work on that, I think. Maybe that ought to be a goal for the year. Try and become more.
Somebody, I don't even know, we get like, whatever it is, we get a sampling result, and then a little while later, we get another one. I wonder if anyone even does, for those results, what obviously Liz did for Salt Pond, which is to take them over time and then chart them, so that what they're showing. I mean, it's just, I guess it would be a lot of work, but it seems to me that that's what we're doing the pond sampling for, really, to know what's going on. Are they getting better, or are they getting worse? And I don't, I don't see how that's done unless there's somebody someplace in some room that does this analysis and has some fix on what's happening.
Well, yeah, think about, Liz had data up through October of 2011. She had PAL's data going back, I think, 8 years. And when she made her report,
Are you talking about her pond report or this report?
right, the pond report.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well,
Okay, so she's looked at all the PAL data before October 2011.
yeah.
But there'll be 6 years of that now. And yes, it's a long time to wait to hear how the struggle goes.
Of the 11 ponds that we are monitoring, the ones we treated with aluminum treatment are much better, as we well know.
We see
We
clear
see it
water.
clearly, and
Yeah.
the results, the oxygen, everything's going up. I don't know about the other 9 that we haven't treated. I imagine they're all still pretty much impaired. I don't know,
Yeah, but that's the question, is the impairment getting worse?
Impairment is impairment, it's degrees of,
Well, she had a whole ranking, which is how we picked out Great Pond
Right.
and Herring.
my overview is no, they're not getting a heck of a lot better without treatment. It's just my quick analysis of the data I've looked at.
But I don't think,
That's not,
nobody's gonna fund treatment based
no,
on that,
I know,
Mike.
I know.
So that's why I think, and as I recall the pond report, and I think when we did the pond plan, it's where we were. I mean, there was stuff that was likely to get worse, but nothing presented itself to us, I don't think, as another logical candidate, any of the deep ponds. And of course, the shallow pond, the worst one, we're having this problem with. So I just think it would be useful. And it also seems, I mean, a rational thing to do. A lot of money was spent to produce this pond plan, action plan, to determine the state of the ponds as of 2011 and rank them as to which ones needed some action. And now 5 years have gone by, and we don't know, is that ranking still valid? Or have some ponds, for various reasons, moved up in the list, now have a higher priority than they had before? I don't see spending $69,000 to produce a pond plan and then, okay, it's done, so now we'll move on to something else. I think you build on that. But I guess it takes money to build on it, but I think would be money well spent.
There should be analysis done. But it's also true that even ponds or, let's say, water areas that are not near anything change in time. There's several out there in the seashore.
The
That
vernal
20
ponds?
years, no, well, it's the featherbed swamp. About 20 years ago was very good for dragonflies, a lot of open water. We went there last year and it's now completely filled in just naturally. And that's right in the middle of nowhere, so we can't really say that there's very much, I would have thought,
Evidence of
human
man.
evidence of
involvement.
man. That's right. So a good long walk in.
Which one is it? You tell me.
Featherbed swamp. It's a little tiny blip on the map in the middle of the Cape Cod seashore.
Way
Is
out
that
by Horse
considered-
Leach Pond,
It's
way out.
It's way out.
Is that
Along the
considered a
ocean.
pond or what?
It was a swamp. It was featherbed swamp.
Is it in Eastham?
No, it's
No.
a churro.
Truro.
Is it
Truro,
Truro? No,
Wellfleet.
it's
It's right
Wellfleet.
along the
It's
line.
along the line.
It's called Featherbed.
Featherbed swamp.
Adele, I agree. Let's,
Let me look and
let's,
see what Sandy gave me stuff a long time ago because I asked for data from the ponds, not for the water, but actually for dragonflies.
yeah.
And I can't remember, but I did figure out enough of what the things were about, so I don't know if I had a crib sheet.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm just thinking,
But you must have a crib
Liz
sheet
is
somewhere.
still available as a consultant, and, I mean, we could say, can you take the next 5 years of data and amend or supplement the December 2011 report?
Yeah, she'd have to get paid for it.
She'd have to get paid, but,
The most we could do is make a recommendation, I guess,
That would be a good idea.
that we think that should be done.
well, I'm kind of saying, if you think in terms of 5 years increments, at the end of next summer, would have the data, and if then that was the next piece of work for the next fiscal year or whatever, that's, you know, to me, reasonable. I mean, all right, let's talk about a few other things here. I wrote a little article that had to do with recruiting new members with the intent of seeing if I couldn't get it put in the Eastham section of the Cape Codder paper. And so, and what the drafts are now printed on the back side of the agenda. And now the top paragraph is what I wrote and sent out in, on the 6th of April. And I did get 3 responses back. Suzanne, Bryant, Jane, and also Mike. And I've copied in on the back what they came back with for edits. So, and then I went down and I kind of reworked the paragraph. That's the last piece down below. I think we're close. And I don't know if, it generally isn't too helpful to take sort of prime meeting time to edit documents. And there are, Adele, I am just incredibly impressed by your ability to concisely use the language. And I don't know, if you looked at the last one and said it's good enough and safe,
Well, I guess I
I
have,
see Janet shakes her head. Okay.
You
I
put
have,
it- you-
I
you-
have a basic problem.
Okay.
Somewhere along the lines of the question that Suzanne raised. And by the way, has Suzanne been appointed, or?
Board of
Suzanne
Selectmen
has been
appointed last meeting.
appointed. You know, she works 40-hour a week.
Okay.
At the other end of the Cape. So she's not here now, but she did give me very good input.
Okay, no, I just wanted to know what her status was, so, okay, so she's now, and so far as you know, she's been sworn in.
Well, she's got to do the ethics training to be
okay,
sworn
so-
in, so,
Okay.
but I'm assuming that the search committees are working with her and lining her up to do the ethics training.
It's online, right?
It's online.
Yeah, because it was when I
Doesn't
did
take
it.
very long.
No, I know.
No.
I just did it
Yeah.
8 months ago or something. You did it more recently, probably.
It was torturous.
Yeah, it was, and you keep looking at it, you're saying.
It reminded me
we-
just
we
like
don't
high
have any-
school.
We don't have any authority, and yet it says many places, it doesn't matter whether you actually, if you're on a public board, you have to do this.
Well, I mean, that's okay. You have to do it every 2 years, so, I mean.
Oh.
you-
The final
yeah.
one's muddling too many
Oh, I
things up.
didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
I-
Yeah, so, I mean,
That was a one-shot
You'll be
deal.
notified.
I'll be notified.
Not
I
the
can't do that again.
language.
Now, second time
Okay.
is.
so,
Oh, this
She
is
raised a
bad.
question about, are we actually monitoring pond freshwater quality? And I think that is a good question. I mean, what do we mean by monitoring? Obviously, we're not doing the sampling, we're not running the sampling program.
right.
And maybe this was a sentence that stimulated the question in my mind. In what way are we monitoring the pond freshwater quality if we're getting these reports and we don't understand what they mean? We're not very effective monitors, we should be fired.
We just discuss it.
We have our pay docked.
We change that
So,
monitoring to discuss it.
I'm wondering if if there's another term for this.
Which paragraph are you in, Adele?
Right in the middle.
Let's just start, with the first one. I'm not gonna bother with these edits at this point. I wanna just talk about the substance rather than the language.
Okay.
And I don't know about anybody else. To me, I'm not certain what we're doing fairly be called monitoring pond freshwater quality.
I don't think we are.
No,
We're considering the results of the monitoring of the freshwater.
yeah, but
But we-
that's too complicated. I guess it's a question of what, all right, what do we say there? And
Reviewing.
Well, you're right. We review the monitoring that's going on. but we aren't monitoring it itself, but to tie it, kind
So
of,
we could say we're reviewing the monitoring to assess current conditions?
To come up with recommendations,
Yeah. Or, well,
something
Yeah.
like that. That would be,
yeah, we review the monitoring. Basically, one of the comments that Jane made was that we advise the Board of Selectmen, so that's why in order to advise, we have to make ourselves informed as to what we know for information, and either read the data or get someone else to read the data for us. If you can think of another verb,
okay, what I just wrote down is one sentence. Revising the monitoring to assess current conditions and make recommendations about remediation.
You said revising or reviewing?
Oh, I'm reviewing. I can't even read my own handwriting, so I'm operating on autopilot here. I thought it was, I'd written down revising, but that wouldn't make any sense, would it? Reviewing the monitoring to assess current conditions and make recommendations about remediation?
yeah, that's
Don't you
perfect. It's a little
don't you
tighter.
think there should be a sentence in, if you took Jane's thing, because it says, considering on the term appointed by the selectmen, I think you should have a thing here that says the Water Management Committee is concerned with both freshwater and saltwater environments within the town of Eastham, or something like that, because then that sets the stage for the next two thoughts that you've got, one of which is saltwater and one of which is freshwater. Without them,
You're right.
Okay,
I'm not a writer. There are people who just kind of hear the sense of it better than I do. I'm comfortable with that adjustment.
well, because I like the fact that you say appointed by the selectmen, because it gives validity to what the committee is. And then I think you need the sentence that says we're concerned about water, and like we changed it, whatever we did, to be both freshwater and saline. And then you can have your two bits of prongs, if you like, one which
No,
is
it-
freshwater.
well, he did.
Well, he does, but he
He-
hasn't stated at the beginning what we really are doing.
Well, neither does Jane.
No,
Jane
but I'm
does the
saying
same-
that-
Okay, all right.
I'm
So you
saying
think
that
there
I'm-
should be a
I-
se-
I'm-
all right.
I
Yeah,
like-
that can be wrapped up in the intro, instead of this want to
Yeah.
help and willing to learn, you do interested in, I don't know.
Salt and
forgot,
fresh.
Learning, or but interested in.
Salt
in
or fresh.
Learning about and
Some-
helping
Yes,
East
yes.
Ham's freshwater and saltwater resources.
There you go, I like that.
Good.
Sure.
Before I forget what I said.
But then it sets the, you're setting a stage, all right.
Yes. Well,
And then you can say, making a plan for the protection of the estuary
Well,
water.
I have a question about that one too.
Oh, all right. I don't like the word estuary water, but that's,
Well, no, it's just, I mean, what is it that we are doing that is making a plan? But the town is clearly making a
no,
plan.
no, I mean that as,
Oh, I
it's
see
a
what you're
town
saying.
piece of work, and it's not us, the committee, doing that, but it
Oh,
is,
but you're telling people what they're gonna do if they come to the committee.
yes.
That's why I'm concerned about what they say, so we don't build up expectations that aren't fulfilled.
Well,
So what could we,
reviewing plans for the protection.
well, we're not actually either.
Well, but-
We're hearing about them, so what it comes
Well-
down to.
Well, that's the first step in review. I mean, if.
Yeah, but we're hearing about them, are we providing any feedback?
Well, we
I don't
should
think
be.
so.
Well,
We
well,
should be.
no, but that's a very good point. I mean,
That's the problem that, at the moment, we're only hearing rather than doing.
well, but, okay, in theory, we advise the selectmen. Okay, they have asked us to help them extend that. Okay, so if you shorten it down to the least number of verbs or the only verb, we're advisory. Okay, but we have to inform ourselves as to the issues, and we make sort of a reasonable citizen judgment as to whether we need to spend some more effort in this direction and encourage this action, and ask folks to either delay or hold off on some other action, basically how to deploy resources efficiently. It, you know,
That's not what this sentence is saying, though.
well, let's
No.
change it to make it say that. Well, are we at the point where maybe Janet and Adele, would you maybe read the last paragraph and come back next meeting and say,
You've
This
got
is
two
better.
different varieties, and then we could,
Okay.
yeah,
I'll tell you what, I'll take a crack at it and then send it to you. and You
Okay.
can tell me what you think.
okay, you do it, because you'll come out with the right.
Excellent.
You'll
I was
come
trying to
with,
agree
I don't
on
think
Bill.
anybody could write by committee.
no,
Even when
you're-
we
good,
vote,
I
we have
agree.
more than one lawyer writing a brief, you take different sections, and then you exchange them.
Right.
You can't write two together.
So, all right, well, good. We got a plan, that's what we're gonna do. We're going down to reformat Water Management Committee website. If you look at the handout that I've given you, we don't need to have anything definitive right now. But when we talked a little bit about this at the
Excuse me,
last,
just let me ask one, because you keep talking this an article. Is this an article or an ad?
well, it was going to go, hopefully, in the Cape Codder, under the Eastham section of the
Okay.
paper. And I did have a conversation with, I think it's Marilyn, but I can't remember her last name, who was one of the writers for the Cape Codder.
Marilyn Miller.
Miller. It seemed to me that she was nodding her head, saying she would be willing to receive something that I could get to her. So basically, we're
Then
getting,
would she rewrite it?
I will,
Okay.
I will
that-
follow.
I'm not up for that. I'm not up for Marilyn
well, no,
deciding how she wants to describe the work of the
well, but
committee.
once we get what is going to be polished up here, then I will ask, and if it seems complicated, I'll come back to the table. If it seems straightforward,
I'll also take a look at the Cape Cod of that section and see how they,
see how
if
they
they
do it.
say anything at all about submissions. And another person that we can ask, perhaps is more in charge of that section, would be, can't think of her first name, Carol Dumas. Who's the managing editor of the,
Yes, and another person to me would be to touch with is our own search committee folks for their experience. And I don't know, I mean, certainly would not want Jane and I would want Sheila to know what is up to, because they have the depth of experience that might point us to go do something a little bit different. So we still have that ahead of us. All right, what did I start on here? I was saying, okay, I got the handout, and of what we have there in the list is 6 folders with names that I'm proposing, and then we have with what existing content would go under them. That content is now on the website. I'm comfortable moving slowly on this for this reason. I noted that in the warrant for town meeting, there is apparently a specific asking of money to upgrade the town's information management system. And so I think if that money comes through, there will be perhaps a generational upgrade. And really, perhaps we just need to get ourselves in a position to be ready to respond when the folks that run that network ask for, okay, we're going to do a review, a cleanup, an upgrade of what we have, and that, so what do you want happen? I would also point out that what we have on there is certainly reasonable information, but there's a lot of other documents that have come along in the last 3 or 4 years that have merit in terms of identifying to people that they're there, that haven't gotten onto the list, and they are not on that piece of paper. They're just things that I know in the back of my head. I just went through the existing display of things on that website and tried to find a better place for them or a better name for them. So, any comments on that?
well, I'm confused by your by the titles, I mean, I have no idea what's in them at this point. Your pond and lake stewardship programs, 11 ponds, 2001, 2009. Pond and lake stewardship program, 9 ponds, 2002, 2010. I mean, they overlap, so are the 9 ponds 2002 and 2010, are they included in the 11?
Okay. Adele,
Oh,
there's a file in there with 11, and there's a file in there with 9. And those are the names that are closestly describe what's
But
there.
did you look at what's in the files to see if maybe some of these are duplicates?
They must be, we don't have that many ponds.
yeah.
Well, the dates on
It's
the
only, it's
9,
only 2 files that are summarized in a different way.
One's by year,
But
one's
for
by
like-
pond.
Yeah.
One by year, one
Yeah,
by
yeah,
pond,
the-
and they're slightly different years. They should be in the same place.
Well, okay, but that's another piece of work, to take those 2 files
Merge them.
and merge
Well,
them.
don't merge them, just put them into one folder
Well, no,
with
okay.
a comment underneath it.
No, they're in the same folder.
oh, but wait a second, this is 7.
Well,
Well,
no,
you
you-
said these are separate
it's a typo.
folders.
You said these are separate
1,
folders.
2,
but-
3,
He also
4,
said there was,
5,
he said there were
6.
6 when he said the number.
Yeah, no, if you,
It looks like
okay,
there's
if you look up there, number 2, at the first page, over on the left-hand side, it says number 2, folder name and file contents. Okay, so the first, number 3, repeats the line right under number 1 up at the top. That is the name of the folder that I've come up with that best describes what's
Now,
there.
I understand that, Charles. I'm asking,
Yes.
you have 2 separate folders
Yes.
for the pond and lake stewardship program. Folder 6 and 7.
Yeah,
One of them says it's the results of sampling of 11 ponds during the years 2001 to 2009. The other one says it is the results of sampling 9 ponds during the years 2002 to 2010.
Oh, are you
So-
saying, sorry, keep going.
But it seems to me that these 9 ponds, except that you added on 2010 here, are, those same files are in folder 6.
could be. Could-
So are you going to put the folders, you're going to put the files in 2 separate folders?
No, I'm taking it a step at a time. If someone comes to me and says, Charles, look, I'm interested in the pond data, and I would say, look, I've only been here 5 years, I don't know what's going on, but I know on the town website, there are 2 files, and they have pond data in them, they're in Excel, and
Okay, you asked for a reaction. To me, it makes absolutely no sense to duplicate. And if your concern is one files them by year and one files them by pond name, it is possible to include in a folder an index so that you could file them by years if you want to do that, but then you could have a master index, which would indicate for
But I'll-
Great Pond, look in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And, you know, and you would do that for everything except Great and Jemima, where you apparently don't have an extra
But
one.
are they individual files? So there's a file for Widow Harding, and a file for Bridge, and a file for Depot? Or is it one file that is for 9 ponds, 2010, 2002 to 10, which has 10 different sheets in it for the different ponds?
and the answer is yes.
Well,
There-
then,
no,
why don't you just have something that says Pond and Lake Stewardship Program as the file name, and then you have the folder name, and then you have
Because
the
he's
2
concerned
files in
about
it?
the fact
When
they're
I
filed
said
in
you-
2 different
Doesn't
ways.
make-
I know, but you
oh,
asked why.
well-
That's the why.
No, when I say yes, there is a folder in there with files in it by pond, Widow
Well,
Harding.
you can
Oh,
still have, just put a bigger file, and then you have a subset file and a subset file.
Well,
You can, okay, you can have a file. In fact, you've got your computer there, you could bring this up on the screen. You could have a file, you just decide which way makes most sense to file them, by pond name or by year. For me, I think it makes most sense to file them by pond name, because you want to know the condition
But
of a particular, let me finish. You want to know the condition of a particular pond, okay? So you file them by pond name, and then you have in there each year for that pond. And then you have a separate folder, which is an overview of what's in there, and has a list year by year, and says 2001, what was sampled, all of them. 2002, what was sampled, whatever it was. And then at some years, apparently, there's no Great or Jemima ponds data. So it's an index for somebody who wants to know an overview of what ponds got sampled in which year, but then they can go to the pond file and pull out a piece of paper for that year for that pond. There's no sense to have stuff duplicated in there.
So I'll give you a response?
Yeah,
Okay. I've looked at those files, and when they come up on a screen, they appear to be Excel, but there's no lines, there's no grid like you normally have in Excel to separate one cell from the next cell that has a number in it. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, but you can make that.
Oh, okay. Now, the next thing is, when I'm looking at those things, I'm not even sure if I'm just not looking at scanned paper. And I see a column, and I see a heading above it, and I see a bunch
What's the file extension name?
No. Well, okay, yeah, I mean, Janet, I'm not that gifted. Okay,
Was
but.
it a .xls? That's
well-
Excel, or is it a G?
But,
PDF.
Thank you, PDF.
yeah,
well, that's what I'm saying, Charles, you could get this stuff up on the screen. We don't have to sit here.
well, but what I'm saying is, I'm trying to make an improvement, but I'm also trying not to introduce trouble, okay?
I think,
Stop laughing. It's just because you don't do it.
Well,
I think, having duplicate files is confusing, and
that's,
people, maybe there'll be people who suffer from my same problem and won't understand why in heaven's name are we having this twice?
well,
And it's, especially because you have a distinction in years. One, you have 2001 to 9, and the other one you have 2002 to 10,
I'm on 9
which suggests
ponds.
that there's something else going on
well,
here.
I know, but think about it. What we appear to have here is different people with different
Stuck the
files,
numbers in.
putting it on the website in any file form that would repeat on a website. All right. Now, if I were to go in there and say, take one pond
Get it.
and take, say, dissolved oxygen. All right. Now, if you want me to make it into Excel such that another person could come along and use the Excel the tools such that you can look for big numbers, look for small numbers, you can sort by time and all that kind of thing. Well, that's a big risk because, this is 72-year-old Charles copying numbers from column to column and page to page, and it's easy for me to introduce something that's not appropriate.
Don't copy. Well, never.
Okay, well, all right, I just looked at one of them, and each one of them is by,
Oh, good, I didn't get there.
this is 2002 to 2010. There's a separate file for each pond, and it's not even, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
It's 9.
6, 7, 8, 9, and then there's this 2006 field data, all ponds. What that's doing in there, I don't know. So that's the one that says 2002 to 2010. Now, let's see what the other one looks like.
Yeah. Well,
But we could look
But-
and see what the file format.
but that's what it is, you see. You go in there and you look at a file, you look at an
This is an
existing.
Excel spreadsheet, and they simply did not print the grid lines,
Yes, that's
that's all.
right.
This is an Excel sheet.
Is it Excel? Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
you can, why people do it, I don't know. Some
can't
people
stand
have
it.
a fascination for printing Excel sheets without the
All right.
lines.
Well,
And it's so
I've never
great.
been able to understand it.
But the thing is, I think Sandy Bain has all of this stuff, and we could probably get it from her, and then put them back on and not worry about these lot.
Right, no, but what I'm saying is, okay, that's a piece of work, and the committee needs to decide as to whether they want to invest energy in it, and then also who's going to do it. Now, where I am is I'm saying is that the budget for next year
What
has substantial amount of money to upgrade the information management system, and right, when we have the attention of our information management person, we can say, look, we got a problem here. We got kind of a mishmash of data, and we need to get it straighter to be useful to us, but we also need to get it straighter to be cooperative with you in upgrading the system.
Pond proposals.
So, yeah, no, I don't mean that as a final solution. What I did is I tried to find a way to approach the subject and show others what's in there.
Well, I would still just stick them in a one folder that says Pond and Lake Stewardship Program,
I-
and stick in everything you've got for the time
Before
being.
we get to that, I've got a basic problem, Charles. I'm on the website, and I've gone through the various things that refer to ponds.
And there's a heck of a
And the only one that I can find that has separate folders is this 11 Ponds 2002 to 2010. Now, what did you
Nine.
say? You said
9
9 pounds. This says 11 ponds.
Yeah, no, there's two files in there. One's 9 and the other's 11.
Well, you say there are 2 files. I'm looking at folders. And if you can tell me what, I don't see a folder. The 11 Ponds one, strangely enough, says 11 Ponds 2002 to 2010, but when you open it up, it's only got 9 ponds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it's got this 2006 field data, all ponds. So how this got to be,
Well, in the 2006 apparently repeats what's in those other files. What I'm saying is that there, in fact, right now, is those 3 named files in there.
they're not, Charles, that's what I'm telling you. But you open up your computer and look, if you look at the list of folders, there are not 2 folders that mirror what you've got here, unless there's something that we haven't found yet.
Well, yeah, okay, I can explain that. I don't know if this is helpful going forward anymore in this direction. But I can't bring it up on this folder. This is computer, this is Mike's. I had it for a different reason. But if you go to the,
Okay, I'm on the face page.
you go to our
The Water
committee.
Management Committee, okay?
Right.
Here are the folders that exist. Municipal Water Project Maps, Wastewater Proposal Studies and Reports folder, Blue Ribbon Committee on Regional Wastewater, Lower Cape Regional Municipal Solid Waste Management Study, Ponds Proposals Studies and Reports folder, Seashore SMAS, 11 Ponds 2002 to 2010, Freshwater Ponds Water Quality Reports folder, and then 2 things, USGS and CWMP. So I looked in the 11 ponds, and that's where I found the 9 ponds and the 2006, and this stupid thing just went. I hate this, I never use this, use the mouse. Okay, so now I'll look in the Ponds Proposal Studies and Reports folder, and I find a mishmash of various studies, but nothing about the pond sampling.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
We got
All
studies
right,
and we
so I got
data.
one more to go. There's 3 folders, existing folders, that have something to do with ponds. Third one is the Freshwater Ponds Water Quality Reports. Okay. And this has Freshwater Pond Sampling Results website, fish kills, public beaches and pond sampling results 2014. I'm sorry. Oh. Pond Water Quality Protection Plan, Herring Pond Alum Treatment, Great Pond Alum Treatment, Semi-Public Beach and Pond Sampling Results 2014, Eastham Ponds Action Plan. This says, I would say nothing, if I would read this, water quality status reports, I would expect to see a lot of reports, detailed, but this is not. This is a bunch of studies. So what I'm saying is, I don't know where you got the 2 separate groupings, because there ain't no 2 separate groupings when you go on the website. So, just,
Is this stuff what you were planning to do, or is this what you saw there?
This is a statement of the existing condition in a way that I thought would help the group understand what's there. Okay, if you look up at the top of the sheet of paper, right? Okay. I either used the old file name because it seemed like it was pretty good, or I thought up another file name such that with these 6 file names, I was able to find a place for every file that looked like it should still have more life on the website. Okay, but I did end up taking a file from under one and putting it under seemingly a related.
let's not mix up files and folders, okay? Let's just stick with folders first.
Well,
Because what your first grouping here is folder names.
folder names, right.
Okay. You look at this, and you tell me where you find the two separate folders of ponds. Careful, don't hit that black thing or everything goes
Slide
haywire.
over Adele.
I can't do it that fast. I don't have that eyesight, and I don't have that concentration.
This is
No,
painful.
Oh,
you got folder names.
I've had.
Can't see these?
so
I can
much
blow 'em
worse.
Yeah,
up.
This is
no, I
absolutely
have paper at home that
I don't
show
understand
me
any of it.
where I got
Stay
that
that way.
particular folder, but I don't have it here.
Well,
I had spreadsheets to.
unless you think I can't read, it ain't here. I've been through, there were 3 folders on here that reference,
The website's so bad that I
Ponds.
can never find anything.
Yeah.
and I've looked at each one of those 3 folders, and the only one that has separate sheets for ponds sampling results is this 11 ponds, 2002 to 2010.
Yeah, and you're right, Adele. That file is under some other heading that you only know about it when you open it up and look at it and you say, oh my goodness, this
It's
is.
not under a heading that says anything about ponds?
No, it's a mishmash of titles and words in there. And what I've done is I've tried to give
All
it
right.
some level of order here, but.
I see that, but were you also going to get rid of some of the files that are on the website?
They doing up here, yeah. I have that on a separate piece of paper. You asked me not to bring that because it was confusing to you.
Oh, we were going to get rid of things like whatever.
Yeah, there,
Okay, I got a basic problem, all right? I'll be quite honest with you, Charles. I can't, it makes to me no sense to have these 2 pond and lake stewardship program folders. If you wanted at the next meeting, bring in the information on which you base the idea that there were 2 sets of folders, I'd be happy to look at it, but I can't find anything on this layout of our website that indicates there are 2 folders in there.
yeah, okay.
And I
I can do
don't know.
that. That's a doable task.
And they don't even say anything about 2001, so where you found that, I don't know. The one that's on here says 11 ponds, 2002 to 2010. Admittedly, it only has,
9 ponds.
All right, I tell you what, I'll make that correction. I'll think about it, and we can talk about it next meeting. We're not pressed by having to have a decision, because if they do get the money to upgrade the information management system, it will be a piece of work that's happening in 2017, or 2016, the end of calendar year 2016. Yeah, I realize that it is very hard to understand these. It's confusing, and I may have not understood it in looking at it. Okay, let's see, we've got, I'm gonna, all right, where's number
well,
seven?
maybe we could
Seven.
just simply do, since this is incomplete anyway, maybe it makes sense to just ask Sandy, does she have
That's
complete sets of
that's
the
what I think
studies?
she has, because I
Okay.
asked her, because I was wanting actually
But then
water
I would
temperatures.
also ask her, does she have anything that provides any summary, any analysis of what these numbers mean?
Well, she
I
must
mean, I
have,
don't think they're generally useful to the general
I
public.
have-
Maybe a scientist would find them interesting, but.
Well,
Well, do
yeah.
you get anything out of it, Jim? No?
think-
Okay. And
I
you're a
think-
fisherman, so you know something about water.
I think there must be something, because I knew that I've, a long
Well,
time
let's
ago,
get
I
that
figured
then
out
and
what
include
meant.
it in this folder so that people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I wrote
You
down,
need to have a code or whatever.
I wrote down 3 things. Combine this 11 and 9 pond, ask Sandy, and the third one is any summaries. Okay,
Yeah,
I will
sounds good.
take those back, I will look around, and I'll come back next meeting and tell you what I
I'll look and
found.
see if I can't remember what I mean, as I say, I know I asked Sandy for some data because I was trying to find out about water temperatures.
Yeah.
And discovered that we had a lot of data that made it difficult for what I wanted it for.
Yeah. Let's move to a different topic here. I just want to make note that we did hear Jane talk about doing the aquatic plant inventory for Minnesota Schoolhouse Pond. And to me, that's an important piece of work, and I'm glad to hear her say that she's going forward with that idea.
Well, no, what she said
got
was.
to email them.
She's going to email them and remind them that they're supposed to come.
Exactly, yeah,
Yes.
okay. We do have another subject of talking about Minnesota Schoolhouse Pond and the Park Street stormwater. The status of that action is that Neil Andres is still working on a technical description of what he is proposing to do such that it could go to the Conservation Commission for eventually getting a permit. So that's the status of that piece of work.
Oh, he hasn't presented it yet.
He
In
has
other words,
not
He has
presen-
to have something to present.
Right, he needs to show them something on a piece of paper, and that has yet to happen. But that's the status of that piece of work. Okay, the next one I've got, it's not exactly an item on the agenda, but we need to think about the distribution of the pond brochure for next summer.
No, I
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
about that, yeah.
And we don't need to do that necessarily now. I'm just saying it would normally be a piece of work that would be coming up through April and early May.
How many do we have for distribution?
Oh, we've got 1,000.
Thousands.
We've got
Thousands.
1,000.
We've about 4,000 left.
Yeah, I've
Should
got,
have only got
Where do they
2,000.
reside now?
Mostly with Charles, some with me, and a few with you.
Yeah, I think I have, what, about 500?
all right, so, okay, and I don't know if anybody is holding up their hand to possibly take that as a task. to do.
I can go and do it on what we did, I have what I did last year.
Good. Now, one more thing I was thinking of, and I was thinking of taking the pond brochure, making it maybe twice as large, and maybe putting a heavy plastic sheet on it, like, they do down at Staples or something like that, and displaying it on the 2 attendance booths, one at Wiley and the other over here at First Encounter. Now, so people would know that it exists. Now, I realize when people go to the beach, they're not really in a situation where they would gladly want to take a piece of paper that they would also have to keep track of with the kids' shoes and the umbrellas and everything else. But I think we need to see other ways we can get things in front of the public so they know it exists, and there will be some that will read
You
it.
can't copy it that way. We had this discussion before, because it doesn't track that way.
Okay.
You gotta be, well,
I
if he has a flat one side and a flat the other side, he's talking about just copying it the way it goes, rather than the flow.
But bigger, and then just posting it
I know,
in
but
that
it
lower
can be
section on the
done.
booth.
Yeah, but it could be done by redoing
They
it.
could go to all the
He's taking
ponds where they have the
photographs.
rules of the
This is the
ponds, they all
brochure.
have the boards
Oh,
up,
really?
you
One
know.
side,
Well, I
copying
did,
the other.
Big board
when you
with
go
the
back
rules
into
of the pond
PowerPoint
and-
and you make everything bigger, it's
Yeah.
a pain in the.
A lot of
Yeah,
ponds do
did you
that.
hear what Jim said?
But
What was that, Janet?
Do you want me to
Go ahead,
elaborate?
A lot of the ponds have big boards
Yeah,
outside with
yeah.
the rules of the pond, maybe.
yeah,
what we
there's
did at-
one at,
Herring and,
there's
one at
one
Great
also,
Pond.
Wild Park has it.
But what we did at the lighthouse is that we took our
We just
brochure
want to,
and we only have a post. And it's basically
how
the
big
same
would
as
you want
this.
that?
And we just
No,
laminated
Scott,
it.
it
We
doesn't
can
work
do
that way. Janet would have to redo it, so it doesn't make any sense unless it reads the way it was laid out to read.
Right,
And
yeah. I mean, this is the front right here.
Right, that's the
right?
front, that's
And then
page
you go
one.
here,
No,
and
no,
then
no,
here's-
no, no, no.
oh.
You actually have to
Close it
read
up
page
again.
one.
It's
Okay,
one, and then close it up again, and
that's
then it.
two,
Two is the map, the
This
two
is-
maps.
this-
that's two.
Those are 2 and 3.
No, that's one, well,
Well,
okay, if you
This
call,
is
out
one.
That's
the cover,
one, that's
okay,
one.
okay.
And now you
One,
open it up.
two,
2,
3.
3,
3,
Open it up. 4,
Four,
5.
five.
And on the back, 6.
6, and
no, what- yeah,
6
six,
and,
yeah,
oh,
6 is the back.
Oh, we already got to this one.
Yeah. So, I mean, Janet did the final copy, so, I mean, she has it on her computer. She would have to take it and take it out of the brochure order and put it in the reading order.
And then you'd have to
and then
expel
blow
it
it up.
and then make, but the one that we put up at the lighthouse, and we only literally have a 2x4, so we have like 3 pieces, is worked out very well by just cutting up the brochure and putting in. It maybe can't have the 4, no, it's the same as this. And people read it, I mean, it's,
And that's that size print?
yes.
Okay.
Well, it's more or less like that, but we didn't try to do it as a display thing, which is what Charles is really sort of saying.
Right, I mean, I think,
I mean, what we could do is just take that,
You're saying
Cut it-
this,
cut it
and then
up
you
and
go to
then-
there?
Yeah.
Because it looks like the order goes this way.
well, that's true too.
Let me look at it. This is a long time ago it was done.
This
Each pond has a
goes
watershed.
this way.
Yeah, that's right. And then, yeah, so it's these pages, so this sort of makes sense, but the problem is, you
other
can't
side.
start with the cover. You could start with what's happening to our
Well,
ponds,
I mean,
and then just pick up the ponds and not do the cover.
Well, I think you need to.
Well, then, if
This
you
one-
need the cover, then you gotta relay it
how big
out.
did you want that?
well, yeah, I want something that's bigger than this.
Oh, that's what you have right there now.
Yeah,
So double
yeah, but-
size?
But it, with a plastic cover on it, so it won't get wet, and pinned to
Yep,
the attendance booth, because, they've got wood up to this height, and they sit in there, okay. So it just displays, and we would say to the attendant, look, if somebody asks you about the picture below.
First of all, before you start on that, you're gonna have to ask.
A brochure.
But why don't we just have brochures in the booth?
We could do that.
Because we have
but-
so many that we should use them, because they'll be out of date soon.
Yeah,
They
well-
already are out of date.
Yeah, no, I agree, but you would
To
also be.
distribute them to the brochures, we have to go to the beach department and ask them if they'll put them in the attendant booth. Or why don't we do that?
In
Yeah,
the
it-
attendant booth,
it-
yeah.
Yeah, for the attendant to hand out.
Where's the
I mean,
beach? Oh, that's the.
that's over by the
Recreation.
DPW.
Yeah, but I was also saying that
You just want
those
somebody to
attendants, I don't want to stick them with the job of
you
having to
want to
ask
have-
everybody who goes through if they want a brochure. I wanted to get something up there that if people say, oh, what is that? Then the attendant could say, well, we have a brochure and I got copies of it, would you like to
Yeah,
have
but-
one?
Just have a
All right.
display case.
How many of you drive to a pond in Eastham? You got a sticker on your car.
Yeah.
You have no interchange with the attendant whatsoever.
Scoot right on through.
They check your window and, nice to see you. I mean, there's no conversation going on at the
Don't put
attendant.
the head up.
Yeah, but that's it. But you don't stop, you don't read anything on the, you're in your
Material in the
car.
bathrooms.
All right, well,
Well, if you're
well,
walking
Janet,
around
are you
that,
gonna
yeah.
take what everybody
Or
has
put
said
'em up
here
in those things like you
come up with a
described.
way of
I don't
going
know, I
forward
haven't
for this
seen-
year?
Yeah, Great Pond
Well, I
has the
think
rules
actually
of the
what
pond.
they're saying is, we had them at Natural Resources last year, and they were just sitting out there on the table. So when people went in to do their stickers,
Yeah,
the brochures were there.
Yeah.
well, that's good, but I'm just thinking, we got, what, 2,000 copies at least? And
A lot, too many.
if we were to be a little more aggressive in getting them to the public, well, wait a minute now, there's some people that pay money as they go in the gate here, don't they, at First Encounter? What about
Not very
those
many,
folks?
but yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, there are some people who don't go through the sticker situation, so we're kind of reaching people who haven't otherwise been reached.
Reaching people.
They
who
usually
don't-
drive
they-
by.
They just got, yeah, they either got
They
here on
don't
the,
slow down. It's
Sunday,
usually
or-
non-residents that stop to pay and.
and it's only non-residents who don't have a.
So,
sticker.
well,
Not
so then, so
non-residents.
Janet's going to think
You get
about it
here
and
on,
come
like,
back next
Sunday,
meeting
you
and
gotta
tell
stop
us
and
what
pay.
to do?
The best that you could probably do is you get one of these little brochure holders, and you, unfortunately, we donated the ones that would have been very nice for it to Audubon, and then you stick it out on the counter.
Okay,
And then you don't, we have, it must be, we must have about 4,000, at least 3,000 brochures left.
right.
And so then you just have a stack, and then somebody has to come up and tell me, because I don't usually, which places have a booth where we could put it. And who would we have to ask
I'm
permission to
even
do
trying
that?
to
Well,
visualize
yeah,
the booth,
I mean,
whether
it
it
would
has
have
to
to
be.
be,
Post
have to be
offices.
coordinated with the recreation folks, and they may say, no,
No,
it's
it's
too
the
hard for
beach
us, and
folks.
that's okay.
The beach.
The beach folks, yeah. All right.
But I'm trying to visualize those booths. I don't remember,
Well, you see,
they don't
I've
have
never-
They don't
they even have a
waterproof.
shelf.
Oh, well, all right. Cooksbrook is just like an empty shed with somebody sitting there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you
And that's
really
what they
could-
mostly are.
Well, then you could easily have, but we'd have to buy the holders.
You'd blow all around too.
Well, yeah, that's exactly
I
right.
don't think the
Well-
people would give a lot of care in them. They'd probably just throw them all away so they wouldn't
You're
have to deal
exactly
with them.
right. They'll all be on the
That's
beach
what I would
with
do.
Well,
Brook isn't a pond or a lake.
It's not a
Post
pond. Well,
office.
I'm not, that's the one,
Maybe
only
it's
one
an
I go,
estuary.
it's,
Well,
this
yeah,
isn't an
if
estuary,
it-
sure.
Yeah.
if it looked like
Big open
people are
one.
being too careless with them, we'd just stop it. But as I say, I'm thinking of ways to engage the public more, and the brochure does that for us. I mean, and
Pass them
again,
out at those Monday night, you know,
Movie
the,
things.
what are they called?
Oh,
Those-
sure.
Those Monday night things?
Monday night concerts, yeah.
Walk around, pass them out. Have a sandwich board.
Are you volunteering?
Don't push me.
You were great with the raffle.
You know, I mean, I could do that. If, you know, but I need someone to be the leader in this, and that.
I think the simplest thing would be is to come up with something that we put in plastic using the existing brochure, not making it any bigger, and staple it to the, in plastic, staple it to, whatever it looks like on the side. And it probably means we just cut it up so we get the reading correct.
Okay. Depending upon where you want to staple it, I would suggest that before you go to the trouble of doing that, you check with the people who are in charge of that location and find out if they will allow you to staple anything there. Because I'm not at all certain they want people stopping their cars and getting out to read anything.
You know, you're right.
You can't.
No, they're not gonna do
You
that.
might stop to pay the guy your money, but
Janet, do you
You're
want
not-
me to
you're not
take
gonna
that
read
question to the
anything.
resource management? I'll do that
Yes,
one.
you
I'll
do
do
that
that
one.
one.
But the
but
question,
nobody's going to read anything
what,
on
what,
the
I have never
unattended
paid
shed.
at the beach. What do? They take your money and
Yeah.
do anything
like-
else
And they
Let's-
hand you a sticker.
And they let you in for the day.
for the
but
day? Well,
that
then
is-
hand
But no, the day payment, I assure you, from years of going to Great Pond and
Oh, you're
otherwise
saying
when
that-
my son was
yes.
growing up, is the unusual one. The day payments, by and large, are people who for some reason don't want a weekly or a monthly or
They're
a
occasionals.
seasonal. So they'll go for a day, and a day you have to pay. But if you're paying, you hand over your money, the guy hands you a sticker, you never get out of your car, you keep going. So you're not gonna read anything stapled on the wall. If you're
Yes,
like
I agree with
us,
you.
and you have your seasonal sticker, or when we were
Use goods.
renters, we would get our, whatever it was, 3 weeks worth
Mm-hmm.
of stuff. You go over to the office, the DPW office, you get that sticker, you put it on your car. You don't have any conversation with the person in the booth because they just glance over, they look at your rear window, the sticker's there, and they wave you by. So, you're not gonna hit a lot of people, and I see absolutely nobody getting out of their car to read this brochure.
with you,
So
actually.
I think if you want to do it, actually Jimmy had an idea, I don't know if they would go for it, put it in the bathrooms. There'll be more occasion for somebody to
Where's the
read.
visitor center? And, well, there's lines at the bathroom, people standing around waiting for 15 to 20
Yeah,
minutes to do
there's
something to
more
read.
occasion for people to
yeah.
read something, and, they're standing up anyway, they can read it.
But how many places actually have bathrooms?
First encounter, well, the others you'd have
First
to put it
encounter
in
is
the
beach
porta potty.
again.
Oh, yeah, okay.
See, we have to go to fresh
I guess
water.
the bays are all porta potties. Great
Yes.
Pond has one, Wiley Park has a bathroom,
Yeah,
regular
that's the only
restaurant.
one I
Foxbrook
can
has
think
one,
of.
don't they? Or
Yeah, but that's a
Steel
bay.
Beach.
We're trying to think of the
Which?
ponds.
What about the
I don't know about-
visitor center and all the national seashore
I
beaches?
know,
No, we've
No,
got,
the
we've got
Seashore
that.
took 25 copies the last time, that's all they wanted.
Because there's the visitor
They
center,
had- they
there's
had-
the bathhouse.
They had 25. I went to the COA Natural Resources, I did Town Hall, Superette, Eastham Information, the library, William Ravis for rentals, Meadowmarsh, I never found them being open, I didn't bother. Hopper Real Estate, and then we sent out to the Pond of Butters.
No East Ham vet?
Which?
East Ham vet?
Oh, that's not a bad idea, would
Post
you think?
office?
You should
Yeah.
see the lines going through there.
Yeah.
I
and
know
you
my
have
kid,
to
my-
keep
You're
up the
sitting in the
weight.
waiting room, waiting with your pet. It's
My
a-
kids have you have it's very good. We never put them in the post office, but they only have space on the wall. They don't
Yeah,
have.
they have a little.
I mean, they have a
northeast
bulletin
end.
board
Right.
because I think we have Norset Light up in there, and it stayed a long time. But we find if you do that, they move things around. Because we did that last year because we opened on Tuesdays as well as the other traditional days. That's the other place.
I have an item that's not on the agenda, actually.
Yeah, actually, we've got the minutes.
Oh,
I
that's
think we
true.
should get
Let's
rid
do
of the
that.
minutes because.
Why don't we do minutes? And
Did you read the revised?
Oh, I did.
the
The thing you sent.
Yes,
the
and I
email.
apologize for not changing the title from the time before, but I forgot.
Yeah,
Didn't worry.
Janet, I've got your minutes here.
It's,
And, let's see, I've just kind of,
there were, apart from this paragraph down the bottom, there were only two minor corrections, which both Adele and Charles caught. So I would have said we really only need to look at the wording of the draft mission statement. Did you read it? or
oh,
what?
okay.
It's about, it's this little paragraph here.
Okay,
You have one.
Janet, why don't you go ahead and lead us through that? I think,
I think the only issue that, as I recall, was that I had a very brief discussion about the
It
draft
wasn't
mission
called a,
statement.
it wasn't called a mission statement.
Well,
It was a statement for the search committee, wasn't it?
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
have it with me. Yeah, it was the
it
draft
was-
statement for the search committee.
well, yeah, but I've got it further, the draft, well, these I've taken from what Charles sent to me, who did it. So, what you don't want draft mission?
No, because it doesn't say mission statement on it. I mean,
No,
not the thing you gave me, it said statement for the search committee.
Yeah, that was, basically, that's it. They wanted a statement of, well, for the search committee and,
Well, it says, as much discussed, let me read the first sentence. The just draft mission statement dated January. Well, I had the role, it could be the role of the Water Management Committee. For the Water Management Committee prepared by Harris for the search committee brochure.
So what does it say now? The wording of what? The draft what?
I said mission statement. If you don't like mission
No, it's
statement,
not a, well, you capitalized it as if that was the name of it, and it's,
well, committee statement. That's
draft statement.
draft statement, yeah.
the search committee.
Well, I had a description over there. This draft is circulated at the beginning of the meeting. Suggested changes included clarifying that town water resources means both fresh and saline water, that town officials was a more appropriate term than government officials, broadening the scope of the committee by including the words "and are not limited to," after specific responsibilities include. Following the discussion, the motion was presented by Mike, and it was seconded, and I had forgotten you had to have the thing in, so it's a 5-0-0.
Okay. Now that I read, I just should have read it when you said it. I realize that, I guess you thought that you were rewriting the committee charge. Because you're talking about broadening the scope of the committee rather than simply describing what the committee does. No town committee can rewrite its charge. The charges are given to the committees by the selectmen.
No, it was in the thing here that,
No, but you
That-
can't
no, that-
broaden
that-
the scope.
that-
Oh, well,
that-
In other words, our scope is what's in our charge.
oh, okay, so what should it be then?
I wasn't here for the discussion.
Well, no, but in the original thing, it just said, I haven't got it. Oh, that's the thing I didn't bring with me. Yes, I have. No, I haven't.
I know, you included the, you added the terms and are not limited to, but describing that as broadening the scope of the committee
Okay.
suggests that it changes
Okay,
what the committee can do And,
So give
I
me
mean,
an, give me
it's
an,
the charge, I don't, well, I don't know, I would just say adding the words and are not limited to.
adding the words?
Right.
Okay.
Because it doesn't have any effect otherwise.
Okay.
It's a nice description
So-
for the search committee.
All right, so does that take care of the missing information, so we can do a vote on the minutes?
Sure.
I will do
I'm
that.
not voting because I wasn't here.
You weren't here.
All right, so I have a
I
motion.
move we accept the minutes as revised.
Okay, we got a second? Sure. All right, so all those in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Those, okay, those abstaining, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 5, 0,
There's
1.
Mike and who's,
Mike and Scott.
Okay, and then we have Adele's
Okay.
minutes of last month. And, let's see. Adele, I had a change. If you just want to look at my sheet, I'll show you where it is with my thumb. You know, down that far on the piece of paper.
what's the first word in the paragraph?
Okay, well, it says Harris then reported. Okay, okay, and if you skip down to, we got Nauset Inlet 2, if you strike reduce nitrification and instead just put in improve navigation.
That isn't why they did the study.
But no, it really is, and that was kind of a little bit of a discussion with the Orleans folks. The reason they were going to do the dredging was navigational safety. It's true that it will impact on reducing nitrification, but that was not to
I
be.
thought this all came out of that guy's proposal to dredge Nauset Inlet as a way of reducing nitrogen, so that they wouldn't have to do other things.
And that was said in the paper, but in all the documents officially that went
Okay.
through Orleans, it was
So it's
reduced.
to aid navigation.
Improved navigation, yeah, okay, that's the only
And
one I
somebody
have.
threw in the thing about it might.
No, it
Which-
started the other way
Which is
around.
true, but they were being careful down in Orleans that they were not spending money on that, they were spending it on improved navigation. So,
Okay.
This was the channel, right, going out.
channel
Yeah.
going out, yep.
Are they doing it, or was it just a study to do
No,
it?
no,
Yeah.
They've done the study, the work looks to be very high quality. We talked about that last,
The work of the study?
the study,
we're
yes.
running short of time. They did a study which only looked at whether or not it was feasible to do it. And no recommendation as to whether it was advisable to do it.
All right,
Oh,
okay. I don't see any further things to talk about for this meeting.
Oh, well, do we vote on December
Oh,
minutes?
yeah, okay, excuse me. All right, so we have a motion on the 8th of March minutes.
Suppose that we accept them with the change that you have suggested.
All right, discussion.
We
Or
don't have a second.
second, we need a second.
Second.
All right. So, discussion. All right, those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so 6-0-0.
Okay, what I have is very short and
Yes, ma'am.
stimulated, I guess, by some questions that were raised about tea time and also Purcell. So I went back and I looked at the maps, and you can find these maps at the end of Technical Memorandum Number 1. And the redrawn watersheds for the estuaries. Clearly, tea time is far outside it, and the Purcell property is also outside it, because it's west of it. And you see this much more clearly, I don't know what, well, Mike, you don't have it on your computer, and I could do this next time and ask Mike to set it up so we can show it here. When you blow these things up, as I can do on my computer, you see this much more clearly, because you see all the streets much more clearly. But still, you know, tea time is up here, sort of, you see this little triangle, or the beginning of a triangle. Tea Time is nestled in there, backing up, between 6 and Norset Road. So it's very close to the intersection up here. I can pass it
Tea
around.
Time's the
The
The driving range,
driving range,
okay.
right, yeah.
And
I know
Purcell,
it is on this map.
It's off Holmes Road. right?
yeah,
Well, what's the
this
other
is the map of the
Holmes
Purcell
Road. It's
property.
Purcell, it's off
What is that?
Holmes Road. It's the
This
place
is-
the town has.
This is
and
where they're
maybe-
proposing also to build, and that's where it is. And so that's also outside of this.
It's where the post
And I
office.
asked Sandy about the question that had come up about a pond with tea time, and she said she was looking at the 2009 maps, and the MEP changed those maps and reduced the size. I also went back and I looked, and I assume we got this you got this. I think you got it from
We had thought of-
2009.
Yes, it's one
Yeah.
of those. I've got all of
And
them.
this is the 11 watersheds. And clearly they're far, this is a blow-up of what's in the brochure. They're far from both Purcell and Tea Time. I don't think either of these properties
Well,
implicate
they're quite different
the
because
estuaries or the
we're no
ponds.
longer in the Hatches Creek watershed,
Yeah.
whereas we were before.
Yeah, no, the two, well, if you go through the technical memo, and you look
Yeah,
at
we
the
looked at this one.
look at the maps on the back, you'll see, they have
Oh, yeah,
one
it's all the bit
drawing.
behind the post office.
I don't think I did that one.
We're talking about this area in here,
Yes, it's all behind the post office.
the post office?
There's
Yeah,
the post
it's
office.
Brackett Road.
And
The
there's
road
Max.
post office, yeah.
Yeah, and there's Max. And this is Holmes
Dunkin'
Road.
Donuts.
Yeah, Dunkin' Donuts.
A Dunkin' Donuts, yes, and Ben and Jerry's. Oh, apparently it's free ice cream day at Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah, I know, my husband went.
I think so now, hopefully they're still doing it. I haven't been yet.
Oh, no, I gotta go to the post office.
Yeah, Keith said I better go.
I guess Mrs., what was this district?
This is the Purcell property.
Which they want to put the housing in?
Well, they're
some
talking,
suggestion,
they
but
put out an RFP for housing.
Looking for a
on
builder. You
Purcell
feel like
property.
building?
They always wanted to have a turnip field, right?
Not they, Nikki Nickerson.
Nixon, yes.
Yeah.
But were they wanted to do regular zoning, or they wanted high density
There's an
zoning?
RFP out that
can
you
read
can look at. It's on the town website. It explains what they're proposing to do there. And this shows the difference between the 2009 and the current maps. And this is what Sandy was looking at, was the 2009, but this is the redrawn, redelineation, I guess.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that Purcell
And
is,
Tea Time
and-
are both outside the
Pond.
watersheds for Salt Pond.
okay,
So
And
where did they go, towards the bay? It's got to go somewhere, right?
yeah.
yeah,
Must go-
but,
it must
well,
go west.
everything goes somewhere. I mean, our water goes somewhere too.
Yeah, but I mean, from what, if it's
I
not
think
going
they- I
to
think
Salt
that
Pond,
goes-
It goes,
I
yeah,
think
they
it goes
generally,
the
the
other
water
way.
tends to go,
It goes
towards the bay.
yeah,
Oh, no.
to the
No,
ocean.
no,
They're
to
on
the
the
ocean.
ocean
Oh.
side.
the ocean side.
Okay, the basics that we learned before you joined the committee. We learned this during the municipal water program. The water in Eastham flows east from Route 6 and west from Route 6. So if you live on the east side of Route 6, it flows to the ocean. If you're on the west side of
Is
Route
there
6, it flows to the bay.
scientific reason for that?
Well, because it's
I mean,
high.
it's kind of in the middle. Oh,
Well,
because
it's
it's up to the
because
highest
it's
point.
because you've got a
Okay,
high
that would
point,
make
and then
sense.
they go down.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's an easy way to remember
There's
it.
we have a plot that has all of the water contours.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
We've got a big map
got
and
a
we've
big-
got
you've got a
a
big
smaller
Yeah,
one.
well, they always show the flumes, but they,
No,
they,
but this shows the actual heights of the, so it's like having a mountain.
yeah, so where the wells are up at the top there near Wellfleet those are high ground? Is that why they're?
Well, they're also far, because they're in the protected water district, they're far away from any residential areas.
They're up about, they're up
Yeah.
here
Well, they show
somewhere.
them here.
Yeah,
They're here.
Yeah, I know where they are.
Should show them on,
Okay.
I guess I don't have that one.
Of course, you got the stump up.
Yeah,
Just
well,
by them.
oh, okay. There are a set of, and I don't know how it's gonna apply particularly to that. There's also, and I think it's also on the website, there's proposed groundwater protection rules. I can't get back, sorry. But if you want to know, if you go to the, where they have, oh, shoot, that's why I don't use this.
There was a proposal for putting something like in the sand pit, which is, or near the sand
Rochester
pit.
Private, well, that was never happened.
I know, it's just.
They were gonna have a par three golf course.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be a bunch of houses, but the guy,
No, then there was going to be water, and then, it's sort of, free space, and it's pretty boring.
Okay, back to the question we were
Boring.
talking
Take a little
about.
hike.
Yeah,
Take a
let's-
little
Take a little hike.
Take a little hike,
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
It's boring.
let's,
It's boring,
but-
and the people on the road got really upset about lots of things, and it's,
which road?
We shouldn't
Yeah.
probably say that it's boring, folks.
let's let Adele finish on her
routine.
topic.
Okay, question about Stumped Up, et cetera.
sorry.
Under news and announcements, there are proposed groundwater protection regulations, and those are regulations related to protecting the well sites. So you can go there and be informed if you care to be informed. It's up to you how much
Yeah.
information you want.
Adele, shall we put that one also on next month's discussion, or is this what we need to know on that?
I think it's what you need to know.
I think it's what we need to know, that's all there is.
Okay, good. Well, I would receive a motion to adjourn.
Is this May 10th,
Aye.
the future date right now? Is that as it stands?
The,
Next meeting.
I think it is.
May 10th is a
You think it's not
I
the
just
right
wanted to
date?
make sure.
Yeah, because May 3rd is a Tuesday, the first Tuesday. Because May 2nd is town meeting. Everybody remember that, town meeting,
Town
big
meeting,
day.
Yeah.
And also the tick thing is the 21st of this month.
Oh, the ticks.
Well,
Yeah, that's important too.
Yep, 2 PM, 10th of May.
Then I make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second,
discussion, those in favor, say aye.
All right.
Those opposed, none, what's that, 6-0, 6-0.
I used to be on a